Hi, Mr. Rice here. We're going to take your GPS data and process it, turn it into something that's useful for the math people. And with a microphone, we're going to have better audio this time. So we'll come down here and find the data, the raw data taken from the GPS, and we're going to grab the blue streak data. To download it, I need to click on the snowman and open it in a new window, and then download with this thing so that I get the file and I'm able to use it. So down here it is present. And I'm going to open this up. You'll see that this is a .csv file. It's a very old file type, and first thing we're going to do is take this and save it to our desktop in the newer file format, in a .xlsx file format. So this is going to be, and I might change the file name. I have downloaded this before, so it gave me a 1. I'm just going to save it in this file format on my desktop. So I hit save, and you can see that it is there. There it is. And then this is the temporary file, but we're good. So back to Excel. This is where our GPSs would log their data. This is what a blank NMEA sentence looks like, where we don't have a fix. And then if we scroll down here, once you have a fix, they give us our latitude, our longitude, and our altitude. And then this is our UTC time. So all of those things come with a GPS fix, as well as a bunch of other data. Like this is how many satellites we're connected to, and some stuff like that. So now I'm going to take this and scroll down and look for the place where our latitude and longitude really go crazy. Because normal walking around or standing in line will be a slow change, but then if a roller coaster happens, it turns into a fast change. So you'll see that not much is going on with those two numbers, but there, our latitude and our longitude are changing quite a lot. So that indicates that a roller coaster is going on in this part of the data. So we look and we watch, we see when it sort of ends. Down here, it looks like it's done by the time you hit here. There's several in a row. So I'm going to highlight that as our end point. And we come back up and we find our beginning, and we'll highlight that just to mark where it is. And it looks like we could safely go with 740 as our starting point. So we'll highlight that. So we're going to range from 740 to 859. So that's about 120 data points that we're going to look at. So about 2 minutes maybe of writing. But this data I don't want to modify any more than that. So instead I'm just going to open up a new sheet, and this new sheet will be where I do all my stuff. I'm just going to let my time, latitude, longitude, and altitude get copied over. And so I'm going to manage that, but put all my data here on this new sheet, which I'll call my modified data, so that everything gets copied over, but I don't touch the original thing at all. Now, if I were to copy it or type it, that would take a long time. There's a lot of cells to deal with. So instead, we're going to use the power of Excel. We're going to use functions to try and make it more efficient. So if I'm going to make a function in Excel, I have to enter very specific keyboard commands, and you've got to make sure that you get them just right in order for it to work. But the first thing is that anytime you're going to use a function in Excel, you start with an equal sign. So here's my equal sign. And then I have to tell it what to do after the equal sign. So the first thing I want it to do is look at the Blue Streak GPS log. And when I just click on this tab, it automatically fills in that it wants to look at the Blue Streak GPS log. It puts that in little single quotes and then has an exclamation point to say, go look at that. And I want to select the time cell in this sheet. So that's B740. So I'm going to click here, and when I just click on it, I don't type it in, it's B740, and then there it's entered. Now if I hit enter, I'm going to complete this function, and Excel will bring me back to look at it. So this is the 21, 30, 45. That's exactly like what this one was, and it has that information. Now you'll notice that in the function bar, that's what this thing's called, it does not have that number. Instead, it shows me the function that it uses to go retrieve that number. And so when I have a function like that, I can very easily have it do that for more rows. So if I copy this function down, it will go look at the next lowest row for each time it gets copied down. And to do that, there's a very simple method. I take my cursor, hover it over that little box till it turns black, and then I can just drag it down. And you'll notice that here, this is about 10 10 rows down, 10 down from the second row. And so here it's looking about 10 rows down on the previous sheet. So it's going to actually automatically bring all of these down for me. I'm just going to bring it down about 120 spaces, which is what we said we needed to do. Maybe I'll go a little further. We can do 130 just to make sure that we're safe. So that's good. We've got it. That's all of our data, and it collects all the times from the previous sheet. We'll do the same thing right now for latitude, longitude, and altitude. We just need to go get them. So I'll say equals, and then for the blue streak, this is my latitude. So I'll hit enter, and it does it. My longitude, I can come back over here and collect that one. Hit enter, and it does that. My altitude is this 172, and I'll hit enter there, and all three of these have been collected. Now if I want to drag each of these down, I could individually, or I can select the group and then hover over and drag it all the way down, so I have a complete data set. And that, as you see, it copies. It's not the same number all the time. It's just going to look at the sheet, and for those 120, 130 rows, it copies over the information using the functions, which is way better than typing it out. So next up, I'm going to have my modified data sets. So I'm going to do time and say that this is zeroed. And then I'll do my latitude in degrees and my longitude in degrees. Oops, I should have put a closing parentheses just for clarity. And then this will be my altitude. And I'm just going to let my altitude be in the meters that it was originally. If math wants to change that, they're certainly welcome to. So here I'll take these things, the time, latitude, longitude, and altitude, and we need to figure out what they are. We're going to do some functions that go with this, and a lot of it will be easy, like our altitude here. We can say equals this altitude, right? It just equals D2. And so this one is going to look at that one, which is nice and straightforward. It just copies over the number, which is kind of like what we did before, but this is from the same sheet, so it doesn't need to say go look at another sheet. It'll automatically look at its own sheet for you, and that's easy. The longitude and latitude are a little bit harder, right? So those are a little bit more advanced. And if we want to take a look at our longitude or our latitude, let's do latitude first, we need to take and interpret this data. When it says 4,128.787, what it's really telling us is that we were at a 41 degrees and 28 degree minutes, 0.787 degree minutes. And degree minutes and degrees are not the same. It has to do with angles and angle minutes as you go around the globe. So what we want to do is change it all to degrees and then decimal degrees. So actually what we're going to do is take this setup and write a more complex function to go with it. So I'm going to say equals and then left. I want to look at this string of characters, the latitude string, and I'm going to look at the first two characters, and that's 41. So this just gives me the 41 degrees. That's good there. And then I want to add to that all those degree minutes, but I need to change them into degree format. So I'm going to add to that the next thing. So I'll say mid. I want it to look at the next numbers in that string. So here's B2. I want it to start looking at the third digit in at that 2. So I'm going to add in 3, and then I want it to look for the next, like, we're going to go crazy, say 12 characters. So this is 69.787, which makes sense if it's 41 plus 28 and some change. That would be about 69. So that's good. But actually, these minutes don't just get added. We need to change them from minutes, and there's 60 minutes to a degree. So what we'll need to do is do some math operation on this. And if those are minutes, we'll want to divide them by 60. I think that's what we have to do. So we'll do this, and this turns into 41.47978. It's a very long decimal, and actually we can see it's very long. But this decimal means that now this whole thing is in degrees, which is great. That's what we want it to be. And so that's all set up. We're just fine. We could copy this all down, but let's first, there's another trick we can do. Since these two cells are right next to each other, and these two are right next to each other, I should be able to take this, and now that's 82.6, and you'll notice that it came to look at C2. As I adjusted it one to the right, it will adjust this equation to the right, which is great. That sort of adaptability in Excel is exactly what you want. I'm just going to copy these down so that we have it for the full data set, and that's fantastic. It just did all that work for me. I don't have to type a thing. So we're good there. You'll notice that it adaptively changes based on wherever it needs to go. The time is our most complex function because time, like latitude and longitude, has tied up in it. There's 6 digits here. It has hours, minutes, and seconds, and we want all of it to be referenced to seconds because that's how science usually measures time. So we'll first up need to start to look at these different parts of that number. So I'm going to look at the left 2 digits of this, and then I'm going to add it to the next 2 digits. So I'll say mid, come back and look at this cell, and I want it to start looking at the third number in, that 3 in the 30. It's sort of covered up, that 3 there, and I want it to look at for the next 2 numbers, so the 3 and the 0. And then I'm going to add in the last 2 numbers, which are 45. So that would, I'm still going to use mid, and I'm going to look at mid still at the same cell, A2, and then I'm going to write in comma, I want to start looking at the 5th digit, which would be the 4. And then instead of saying for the next 2, in case there's any decimal seconds, like if I measured at 0.4 seconds instead of right on, I'm going to make this really long, so like 10, in case there's a long string of decimals. So there we go. Now this gives me the number 96, which is what I would get if I added 21 to 30 and 45. So this is actually working the way that I want it to. The only problem is that 21 hours don't get counted as seconds. Each one needs to be multiplied because 1 hour has 3,600 seconds in it. So what I'll do here is say, take this number that's left, that we got from the left 2 digits, and multiply it by 3,600. So I'm going to put in this, which is multiplying this 21 by 3,600. Then I'll do the same thing over here. That'll be 60 times our next one, which was 30, because there's 60 seconds in a minute. And then that gives us our number here. This is good. We have this function that gives us the number of seconds since the day started. But that's not that useful because it's 77,445. We want it to be zeroed. So I'm going to take this number and copy it. And then I'm going to paste it in as a special thing. I'm going to paste the value. You'll notice that this cell is just the number, and this cell still has the function. So what I can start to do is fill this in a little bit just to see what's going on. And I want to have this cell be 0 based on the starting point, and then these to be like 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take this cell and subtract away this one, and it turns to 0. But if I do this down here, you'll notice these don't change. It's because F3 and F4 are empty. There's 2 ways to solve this problem. I can have a whole column of this number, which would do it, but it's more elegant perhaps to say let's just subtract away that number. So we can subtract away 77445. That would do it, and I could copy this down and it would work out. Or what I particularly like even better is I'm going to select this cell. So subtracting that one, we're back sort of where we were. Drag this down. You'll notice this doesn't have any effect on these 2. But if I take this one and I put $ in front of the F and the 3, now it locks it into that particular slide. So if I do this, whoops, I put that on the wrong one. If I do this, and then I drag this one down, the $ lock it in to that slide, to that cell. So now it's always referring back to that one, even when I drag down this equation. So it works just the way that I want it to. The $ can lock it into a cell. And that's it. The whole ride took 128 seconds, and we've got all the other data there that we'd want to play with. So this is it. This is what you need for your math, for the math people in your group. So hit save, and you're done. Next thing you'll do is upload it back to the Google Classroom for the this format your raw